All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about something huge, making smarter business decisions. We're going to go from relying on just a gut feeling all the way to using real data science. It's going to be a fun ride.
Business is really all about making big bets, right? Every time you launch a product or enter a new market, you're basically placing a wager. So the real question is, how do you make sure you win? How do you stack the odds in your favor and move from just crossing your fingers to making a choice you're truly confident in?
Okay, so let's start with where most of us begin. That little voice in your head, right? Your intuition, that gut feeling. And look, it's a powerful thing, for sure. But is it really enough when the stakes are sky high? And this really gets to the heart of the problem. Your intuition can point you in the right direction, absolutely. But our source material makes it super clear. One single wrong decision can have these massive, snowballing effects. We're not just talking about a bad quarter. We're talking about the kind of mistake that could literally wind up the entire business. That's why we need something more solid. So, if not just gut feeling, then what? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. Structure. It's about bringing a formal, almost scientific framework to the table so our choices become clearer, more logical, and, way more likely to succeed. And this brings us to the key idea for this whole explainer: decision analysis. Now, don't let the name intimidate you. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's a whole philosophy. It's about applying scientific methods to find the solution that's best for the entire organization, not just one little piece of it. It's the tool that turns a chaotic mess of options into pure clarity.
So how do we even start with this? Well, you break any decision, no matter how complicated, down into three core parts. First, you've got your decision alternatives. That's just a fancy way of saying, what are my options? Second, the states of nature. These are the things that might happen in the future that you have zero control over. Think market demand or even the weather. And finally, the payoffs. What's the outcome? The good, the bad, the ugly, for every single combination of your choice and a future event.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. A simple payoff table. See how it just lays everything out? On the left, you've got your choices, product A, B, or C. Across the top, those states of nature we talked about, high demand versus low demand. And right there in the middle, you can see the exact financial outcome for every single scenario. All of a sudden, a really complex decision starts to look like a simple visual map. Okay, but what if you have this great structure, but you have absolutely no clue what the future holds? No data, no probabilities. You're basically deciding in the dark. But don't worry, there are even strategies for that.
When you're flying blind like this, it really comes down to two simple mindsets. On one hand, you've got the max approach. This is the optimist choice. You look at the absolute best possible outcome for each option, and you go for the biggest jackpot. It's definitely high risk, high reward. On the other hand, you've got the min approach. This is for the pessimist. You look at the worst case scenario for every choice, and you pick the option that's the least terrible. You're essentially protecting your downside, making the best of a potentially bad situation.
And this quote from our source material really just nails it. Getting a great result from a bad decision, that's just luck. A truly good decision is something else entirely. It's built on logic. It considers all the data, all the alternatives. It's about the process, not just getting lucky one time. And that repeatable process is what leads to consistent wins. But let's be real, things get way more interesting when you're not totally in the dark. What happens when you actually have some data? When you know the odds? This is a total game changer. The second you can say something like, there's a 60% chance of high demand and a 40% chance of low demand, everything changes. You've just moved from a world of pure uncertainty into the world of calculated risk. And now we can start doing some seriously powerful analysis. And the go-to tool for this kind of situation is the decision tree. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, a visual map of your decision. It branches out to show every possible path, every choice you could make, and every chance event, all with the probabilities built right in. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure for business. Let's break it down so it's not so intimidating. When you see a square, that's a decision node. That's a point where you make a choice. A circle? That's a chance node. That's where fate, or the market, takes over. And coming off those chance nodes, you'll see the branches have probabilities assigned to them. You just follow the paths all the way to the end to see the final payoff for each route. It's an amazing way to see the whole decision unfold. Okay, so we've mapped out our choices, we've assigned probabilities, but what if the problem is super complex?
What if you have dozens of variables and constraints all pulling in different directions? How do you find the one single best answer? Well, that brings us to the most powerful tool in the shed, finding the optimal choice.
All right, the name linear programming might sound a little intense, but the idea behind it is actually really straightforward. It's a mathematical technique that helps you find the absolute best possible outcome, like the most profit or the lowest cost, when you're stuck working within a bunch of limitations or constraints. Just think about it. In a real-world factory, you only have so much money in your budget, right? You only have a certain amount of raw materials in the warehouse, and your machines can only run for so many hours in a day. Linear programming is the magic that juggles all of those constraints at once to find that one perfect sweet spot, the most efficient way to run your entire operation. And that's the whole point. Out of all that complexity, all those moving parts, linear programming pinpoints the one. Not just a good solution or a pretty good one. It finds this single, mathematically proven, optimal solution. It tells you the absolute best you can possibly do with the resources you have. It completely takes the guesswork out of the equation. And just look at where this stuff gets used. It's not some abstract theory. Companies use it to figure out the most profitable mix of products to make. Logistics experts use it to design the most efficient shipping routes, saving millions. It's even used in finance to build the best investment portfolios. Heck, it can even be used to figure out the cheapest diet that still hits all your nutritional needs. It is an incredibly powerful and versatile tool that's being used everywhere. Wow. So we've gone all the way from a simple gut feeling to some seriously powerful analytical tools. So let's boil this whole journey down into a simple playbook that you can actually use. Here it is, your new 3-step guide. Step 1, structure the chaos. No matter how big or scary the decision is, just break it down into your choices, the stuff you can't control and the possible outcomes. Step 2, weigh the possibilities. If you've got data, for goodness sake, use it. Assign probabilities, map out the paths. And finally, step 3, find the best path. For those really messy, complicated problems with tons of constraints, bring in the big guns, like linear programming, to find that one perfect, optimal way forward. And that really brings us to the end. Moving from gut feeling to data science isn't about getting rid of your intuition. It's about giving it superpowers by backing it up with a logical, powerful framework. So I'll leave you with this question. What's one decision, big or small, that you can make just a little bit smarter this week using some of these ideas? Thanks for tuning in.